Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast. This is episode number 82. Clara's back on the couch, as am I, after a couple of weeks, off. It's not like I've necessarily been taking a break. I'll have still, of course, been releasing reels on TikTok and Instagram, etc. and doing a lot of
traveling for a little bit.
Yes, this is, of course, the summer catch-up. We're going to be talking about everything that we watched in both July and August. And the reason we didn't do one in July is because we were away. We were on holiday. We went to a wedding in Athens and then followed by essentially a glorified food tour all over Italy.
Our other passion other than film is food.
Yeah, if you follow me on my personal account, you'll have seen the quantity of food consumed. As you can see, I'll put on a little weight. But yeah, alas, we're back in the office, so to speak, talking about the one thing that we all love, and that, of course, is movies. As I just mentioned, we're going to be discussing everything that myself and Clara watched in the month of July and August. A summer catch-up, if you will. Let's get into it. So, I believe the last thing that we watched in the month of June was F1, which we spoke about I spoke about, actually. It was when I saw F1 for the first time, but you hadn't yet seen it. Nevertheless, we kicked off the month of July with the Philippou brothers' new horror film following their directorial debut, Talk to Me. And this film, of course, is Bring Her Back.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's been that long.
It has been that long. That's right.
Sorry, but oh my God. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yes. Bring Her Back, we managed to catch at a secret screening, Cineworld's secret screening for our unlimited members. And I had a good feeling that it was going to be this film, which is why I actually bothered to go to it. Usually I'm not sure if I can really give up.
No, because you were literally like to me, it's a secret screening, but it's going to be this film. And I was immediately like, yeah, okay, we have to go.
I had a good feeling.
I loved Talk to Me.
If this film was sort of anything of the promise of kind of Talk to Me after this, with the talent of the Philippou brothers, Danny and Michael, is going to be a treat. And, well, guys, we were right, because it was indeed...
It was really...
It was very good.
It was really good.
Very good film. Bring Her Back.
I thought the whole sort of... I think Sally Hawkins does sort of... I don't want to say carry the film, because I do think the film was really good, but she is a large part of why the film was... I think so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. And also, part of the reason why it's so disturbing is because we're seeing Sally Hawkins, of all people, who is sort of kind of known to us for playing these kind of Paddington-esque roles, or whether it be The Shape of Water, these kind of tug at the heartstrings, warm, really kind of characters. And here there is a side of her character in this to that, but it's of course a lot more sinister, a lot more complex than that.
I thought one thing that was really brilliant about her role as well is usually in horror films like this, you've got we've just come off the bat and we'll talk about it watching a few Conjuring films, but usually it's the good guys and then the demon. You never get an insight really this much into the sort of horrible parts of the horror. Does that make sense? Usually it's I'm trying to explain properly. For example, in Talk to Me, you had good people, good people, real people, flawed people, but good people being possessed by some sort of demon ghost entity thing. So you've got the sort of evil of it being that
an external source.
Exactly.
Whereas this is much more an exploration of the internal evil that we hold inside us.
Exactly. That's what I was going for. Yeah, 100%. And I think it was...
You said the horror of horrors or something.
Oh my God, man. It's been a long time.
Please do go ahead.
You're making me self-conscious.
No, I'm not. Continue. You're doing great.
But yeah, I just thought it was brilliant that we really empathized with the sort of evil character in this. By the end, you literally turned to me at the end of it and you're like, I know why you're crying, and it's for the mum, isn't it?
It's for Sally
Hawkins, the evil one who's trying to kill everyone. And I was
this is the majority. This is the majority of our film experiences. We'll go to a film and she'll be crying at sort of the I don't even know. I'll basically going to go into a film and be like, this person's a psychopath, and you'll be like, no, they were just a really flawed person. That's literally how.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought her character was, despite being evil, was deeply moving, and I thought that was a really hard thing to pull off, and why I thought the film was quite brilliant in its own way. Yeah,
I would say I don't love this one as much as Talk to Me. I think Talk to Me is quite a lot more tighter, and its concept I think is a much more sort of it's more interesting to me. I think.
Whereas it's different, fun, new. Whereas this one is, Bring Her Back. That kind of concept, trying to resurrect a loved one, is something a bit more.
Yeah.
that
we've kind of seen before, but it is still very good. It's still
really good. Yeah.
And it's got some great sort of moments of violence that we had our watching the screen through our fingers kind of type stuff. So really, really nasty. But another really great film from the Philippou brothers, and they are again some of the most exciting directors working in the genre.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird saying that we kickstart the month with that film because the first time we watched that was on the 7th of July, so like already a week into July.
No.
On the 8th though, I went to the multimedia screening, the Warner Brothers multimedia screening of James Gunn's Superman, the first film in the new DCU, so to speak, starring David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and of course Nicholas Hoult, amongst others. I have already reviewed the film here on the channel with Dear Sandy, Mr. Movie Comic Junkie. If you want to hear my full thoughts on that, or some more thoughts on that, you can go check that out. But what we will do is we won't discuss Superman right now. We're gonna come back to it at the end of this episode because Clara has now seen it. Yep. So when we get back to that, we'll have a little chat.
Sounds good.
On the 10th, I rewatched F1. You watched F1 for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this sort of Joseph Kosinski follow-up to Top Gun Maverick, so to speak?
I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time. The race sequences are like jaw-dropping, phenomenal, sort of edge of the seat, nail-biting, all of that.
Yada, yada.
All of that, you know what I mean? Everything's been said before. I feel like, I really enjoyed it. I did also have a few sort of long car journey plane ride moments where I was listening to the F1 soundtrack as well.
You were?
Yeah.
What? This is the first time I'm hearing of this.
Oh, really?
What, as in like the songs or Hans Zimmer's score?
A little bit of both. It was very motivating.
Right. Yeah, because it is all on the same album.
Yeah.
Right?
It was very motivating. It depended on what mood I was in. If I was like for a fun time, I'd listen to the songs.
You were listening to the F1
and
score?
if I was like really trying to get... Why are you like...
Because you never listened to... I don't know. It's kind of... Okay. I didn't know this, but fair enough.
Yeah, I enjoyed. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think, again, like... this makes me sound like such a like downer. These movies, like, I enjoy them, but I don't feel like they're made for me. They're never going to be my favorites. But like, I really enjoyed it. I had fun.
Myself, on the other hand, I mean, there are lots of blockbusters. We get a lot of blockbusters these days, but ones that really kind of push filmmaking to the max in certain departments. Whether that be Top Gun Maverick putting IMAX cameras in the the cockpits of the F-11s or whatever fighter jets there are, and really putting you there front and center with these pilots. Same thing here with F1, putting you in the driver's seat and really kind of experiencing that kind of G-force, so to speak. Like, watching these things in IMAX, like, you really do get that feeling of butterflies as you like sit in the cockpit, experience these races from Brad Pitt's perspective, from Damson Idris's perspective, and it is literally just jaw-dropping, exhilarating stuff. This is without a doubt some of the greatest racing sequences that have ever been put to film, in my opinion. As for the story and whatever, it's a feel-good film, sort of sports drama, kind of summer blockbuster. And I think when all is said and done after this summer, we can actually officially say all is said and done after the summer, out of the major 4 blockbusters, whether that be F1, Jurassic World, Superman, or Fantastic Four, my personal favorite and what I think is the best is F1 still. Oh,
yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, there we go. On the 25th, I rewatched, for the first time in years, your first time watching, was Fantastic Four, 2005. Fantastic Four. Of course, starting the prep for First Steps, and we watched this in Italy, actually, in our Airbnb in Rome. Of course, this film is a lot of nostalgia for me. A lot of this film. I used to watch this film so much as a child. It kind of slot into that kind of Raimi period of my life. Fantastic Four films, Daredevil, even Elektra to a certain extent. Batman films were sort of starting to get in there, but kind of I'd class this in kind of with a more sort of campy, sort of Raimi-esque kind of era. None of these films were quite managing to get to that level. However, that speaking, what did you think of the film?
I had a really good time. I thought it was fun. I like, in a way, that it was one of these superhero films. Like, nowadays, I guess we'll talk about Superman in a sec, but like a lot of the superhero films are very like realist sounds wrong, but like quite gritty, more that kind of side of things. And if there's humor, it's very sort of quippy, Marvel-esque humor.
Like they'll throw in a line.
They'll throw in a line that's meant to make you laugh. Whereas I do really enjoy the sort of just hamming it up, the whole thing being quite campy. You sort of, you feel like it's a little bit sort of got the vibe. It's not a rom-com, but almost has the sort of like
the lightheartedness of the 2000s kind of flick.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do really enjoy that in a superhero film. And I almost think, superheroes can be kind of hilarious and campy in that
absolutely.
own way. And I think it just does kind of go with it. And, I hope that does come back a little bit more now. But yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect and I found it funny. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like what the real kind of difference I can see between kind of comic book films that were made in the 2000s versus how they are made now is it feels like, and of course these films have a lot of flaws and they're not great films, they're not great cinema. Yeah, they are at the end of the day a lot of nostalgia for me, but fundamentally what these films feel like is they seem to have had a lot more freedom in the scripts and in the writings, whereas now you can see everything is done for sort of corporate purposes. They're ticking a lot of boxes,
and like
taking action here, taking humor here.
And I don't know why right at the moment this sort of humor in superhero films has just really started to irk me. But it is exactly as you said. I can just feel the writers sitting around their table going, oh, that's funny, let's keep that in. How can we inject some light-hearted moment into the scene? And people put out their suggestions and they kind of pick.
Right.
Like it just does feel so like corporate, forced. It just isn't as natural and fun. It doesn't fit the vibe of the film anymore or the characters. It's just frustrating. Whereas I feel like with Fantastic Four, like you said, it feels much more free and they just really just go for it.
I also do think it's a product. It's a result of the world we live in now as well. Like everything is sort of you've meticulously monitored on what you can and cannot say. Whereas this is obviously a time where
but I do also think that like, there are still quite outrageous films being made, just not in the sort of Marvel Disney genre.
Sure.
Like, I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's more the corporatization.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to like necessarily censoring what we can say.
Yeah.
I don't know. There are scenes in it though that would not fly anymore with
with
like Sue Storm like getting naked and stuff like that.
Yeah. On the 27th, moving on, the last film we watched in July, not a lot of films consumed in July, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, which came out 2 years later in 2007. This one, I think, was my favorite out of the two. I just have, a lot of memories going to the cinema to watch this one. And I thought the Silver Surfer was one of the coolest things I had ever seen in a film. I thought it was awesome. Yeah. The sort of chase sequence with Johnny and the Silver Surfer, brilliant stuff. For me, I'd put the quality of those two films kind of around the same. They're not amazing films.
But like even that one, like the whole sort of like, the wedding, all of that kind of campy fun. Like it kind of almost gives me Spy Kids energy because that was the film I watched around then. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that kind of fun, nostalgic quality. I just did really love about those films, and I do kind of wish they could like feel like superhero films could take themselves a little bit less seriously and just throw in some like I don't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I remember watching it as a kid and thinking this was so cool of like how Johnny just sort of consumed all the Four's powers, and then at the end it was basically like a super scroll and like kicking the shit out of Dr. Doom using Ben's strength and Reed's flexibility and stretch and Sue's invisibility and his own. It was just great. It was to watch that. But yeah. What a time, what a team, and they will be missed. Maybe, perhaps, we'll see them at some point in some later installments of the MCU, considering some certain characters from our childhood, from the 2000s, are potentially returning in Doomsday and eventually, hopefully, Secret Wars. We shall see. But then on the 1st of August, continuing with the line of Fantastic Four films, we find ourselves at Fantastic Four, or Fan-Four-Stick, as a lot of us like to call it, 2015, directed by Josh Trank. So it's kind of history behind this is sort of Josh Trank made a film called Chronicle, which was, I think, pretty good. I will show it to you at some point. I think I really enjoyed it, which also starred Michael B. Jordan as well. And it was kind of this idea of what if like 3 teenagers in modern society right now, if they gain superpowers, what would they do? Apply that to a more coming of age style, sort of mixed in with a lot of kind of American teen kind of college kind of elements. And that was a really unique sort of film, I think, at the time. And it kind of had a lot of people looking Josh Trank's way. And then Sony gave him Fantastic Four. But of course, Sony being Sony, they had to get their little fucking hands in as well. And essentially what ended up happening was this film is an absolute mess. You had been hearing sort of things about...
So I didn't know yeah, I was sort of kept in the dark. I mean, I could have looked it up, but I didn't, about how many were left, what films we were watching. And I knew sort of from like listening to Dylan talk and just generally in living in the world that there was one truly terrible Fantastic Four film. Like awful, everyone complained about, everyone thought it was terrible, like terrible film. And I wasn't sure if we were going to watch it. And I wasn't sure like how many there were and which one it was. So when Dylan put it on, I didn't know that this was the like, although I'd heard rumours, the like really, really bad one. And I actually went into it really hopeful. Like when it started and the way it's all set up, I was like actually going into it with sort of more of a, the acting I thought was good. Like I was going into it from like a, hopeful perspective of the way they set up all the characters basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like a younger version of the team. And
exactly. And a little bit more gritty and like, I know I was just against that, but you know, it kind of worked for the world they were building and like it was interesting and like it was a different and nice envisioning of these characters.
Sure.
But as it continued, it just lost itself so badly. There was sort of no development anywhere, just flitting between different things. The acting just, I feel like, got worse. The lines got way more clunky. And then the design at the end of like everything that was going on was just truly dreadful.
It is an awful film.
Just like, it was so disappointing because I felt like the setup and the world we sort of got entered into could have been really fun, and then everything just fell apart.
I think
made no sense.
I think what happened, the point at which that happens is there's a time jump between when they just return from getting their powers. And Reed sort of escapes this facility. And then it goes like 7 years later or something like that.
That's
and then after that point it is awful. Like the film is absolutely awful. You can see the reshoots there. You can see like it's a terrible film. You don't get any the kind of, you don't spend any time with the characters learning their abilities. You kind of just fast forward and jump.
Yeah, because they do quite an interesting thing, I guess, with the sort of, it's almost like a horror-esque aspect, like when he's stretched and when they're all caught, like that was quite interesting and like a different sort of take on it. But then it just falls apart when they jump. Nothing works in the end. You don't get any resolution or any character development for anyone. Like it just, and they're just like, even the fights are just boring. Like it's
fucking awful.
Just doesn't work.
The Doctor Doom in this film has genuinely got to be one of the worst supervillains I have ever seen, like in any superhero film ever. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. hasn't got a lot to live up to in that department, I would say. But there you go. Just really, really, really not great. The next day, not the next day, 2 days later, upon returning back to the UK from our travels, I went to see The Fantastic Four: The First Steps. Again, another film that I have reviewed with some fellow members of the Geekdom. If you want to hear my full thoughts on that or some more thoughts, you can check that episode out. We will return to the film once we get to the date in which Clara watched it as well, and we'll have a little chat. So feel free to look on the timeline to see what part that's at if you want to skip ahead. Anyhow, on the 9th of August, we finally went to see Zach Cregger's Weapons. Right. Do you want to go first? Shall I go first? I don't know.
Go on, you go first.
Right. So Zach Cregger, this is his second solo directorial feature after, of course, making Barbarian, which came out a couple of years ago. A film that I really, really enjoyed. I thought it was really great, and I was really looking forward to seeing what Zach Cregger did next. I think he has quite a sort of pulpy approach to horror, and I think, in my opinion, he's one of those directors working in the genre today who's making the genre truly great and truly fun again. I think he's really, really installing a sense of come watch a horror film because it's genuinely a good time at the cinema. Like it's not just these like it's not all just sort of dread and horror, but there's also a lot of comedy there. It's, and he's able to walk that line really, really well.
I think his mix of genre is
brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense as well because he comes from a comedy background, similar to like Jordan Peele.
Yeah, nice.
So his writing is really strong here, and again, just like Barbarian, this film Weapons also has this kind of multi-character perspective that is sort of the kind of network of narrative of sorts of Weapons. It's compared this film, I've seen this film being compared to films like Magnolia. I'd even say it has elements of like sort of a horror version of almost Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
That's
what I thought. I feel like Pulp Fiction kind of thing. Yeah,
and before you give your thoughts, I will say this is something I haven't actually mentioned in my Letterboxd review, but I did actually mention this to you. But of course, if you don't know what this film is about, it is about a sort of kind of conspiracy tragedy that happens in this town, where all of these kids in one class go missing at 2:17 in the morning. They all run out of their houses and they disappear into the darkness. And the film sort of follows the kind of aftermath of this, following different characters, whether that be the school teacher played by Julia Garner, sorry, my bad, or Josh Brolin, who's the father of one of these sort of missing children, and it jumps from there to kind of the head teacher played by Benedict Wong, and then Alden Ehrenreich, who plays a sort of kind of controversial cop figure who's in this, and it's all these kind of storylines interweaving and intertwining, and kind of you're slowly beginning to build a picture. It's almost like this sort of movie mosaic, so to speak.
Yeah.
That kind of climaxes right at the end, and it is really brilliant. But mild spoilers. No, not mild spoilers. Spoilers for weapons from this point onwards. Of course, sort of at the sort of 2/3 point of the movie, it's kind of revealed that it is this kind of witch who is kind of the main sort of figure here, who has caused all this massive sort of outrage and this terrible tragedy to happen, who's essentially feeding off and sucking the life force out of all these children, out of all these people, and she has these kind of rituals that allow her to sort of take control of bodies and whatnot. And all in all, one of the reasons why this film really got under my skin is, I did mention this to you, but as a kid, there was one fairy tale that really shook me to my core, that had never been really explored or really there hadn't really been a film that I had seen in the horror genre that had actually played on this fairy tale, and I thought it was always such a disturbing fairy tale to really play around with, especially in horror. And that, of course, is the Pied Piper, that the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, who obviously lured all these children away from Hamelin. And I've always found that super disturbing. I mean, my mum used to scare me, saying like, if you don't behave, the Pied Piper's gonna like take you away, kind of thing. And now we finally kind of get this kind of twisted take on that in a lot of ways. I don't know if this was a fairy tale that kind of inspired Zach Cregger here, but it certainly kind of gave me this kind of disturbing nostalgia of sorts. It kind of gave me the shivers. And I thought this film overall was brilliant. I came out of the cinema and I was like, was it really that good? Then I thought about it more and more in the week, and I was like, I just can't stop thinking about this film. I loved it. I thought it was great. And I really think as well, I've been saying this forever, I'm so happy that horror films are really now getting an IMAX release, because when you're in that IMAX theater, again, this is a phrase I'm going to say, but horror again is arguably the most visceral of genres. That atmosphere is a prime atmosphere to really experience this genre, and I think Weapons is another example of that. So I'm going to shut up now and let you take over.
No, I totally agree with you. I really enjoyed it. I liked sort of how, like, that mosaic structure, as you said, of all the different sort of character storylines coming together. And I especially like the storyline between the cop and the sort of
the junkie.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious, and it worked really, really well. I guess actually one thing that sort of sticks out to me as to why I agree with everything you said. I'm just sort of like building on as to why maybe I felt like this film was slightly... I'm really like nitpicking right now, but like slightly wasn't perfect. It was actually something you pointed out to me as we came out the cinema.
Yes.
Which was sort of that in it that we've got these sort of the characters sort of dream slightly supernatural things, slightly creepy things about the witch character that is sort of enchanting these children. But it doesn't really make sense in the story why they're dreaming that. They haven't been cursed. They're just, for some reason...
And they've never seen this figure before.
They've never seen this figure before.
So they have no reason to dream of her.
They've never been cursed. Like, it just doesn't really make sense why they're randomly dreaming of her. And also, like, they're randomly dreaming of weapons. Like, these kids are being used as weapons, but they're randomly dreaming of weapons. It just is almost like what subconscious entity, supernatural thing is making them have these dreams. Like, it just doesn't really make sense. Yeah. And I also found the dream, like, especially the one with the sort of big gun on top of the house, like, really sticks out as it just doesn't really... I like the sort of running thing that they do. I think that works really visually well. It's both creepy and then when it needs to be funny. Yeah. And it just really, really works. Whereas I did feel the sort of visual language of these dreams sort of jarred with the rest of the tone of the film.
Yeah.
I just didn't really love that. But again, I'm really nitpicking, and I did really enjoy the film and the sort of characters and the whole sort of comedy versus horror thing.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people give the film a 5 out of 5 stars. I don't think it is a 5 out of 5 stars simply because I think the film alludes to the idea that it is more than what it actually is.
Yeah.
You know, with a title like Weapons, and and that's quite an abstract thing to call a horror film, let alone a horror film. So it's like alluding to this idea of, weapons, and, there's images of huge assault rifles hovering over houses in like dream sequences.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Zach Cregger is really trying to say anything, but if he is, I'm not quite sure like what it is. Or if it's just a sort of fun horror film. But even in that case, there are some things that really quite don't make sense. For example, we discussed, I really just left the cinema and I was a bit confused as to why those kind of dream sequences. There is a really brilliant jump scare in the dream sequence.
My God, yeah. Like it is, they are good and well made. But
it just... I really don't know how or why that is fitting into the larger story from a kind of... I just don't think some of that stuff kind of worked. It made sense. So yeah, I mean, if there is really no commentary there, and if it's quite simplistic, that's completely fine. I had a good time with the film, but I think, like I said, I think it's quite misleading in the idea that it's alluding to something more, or it's trying to say something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not. So that was quite confusing. That's what I found.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I definitely agree with you. Like, I thought. Is an addition to the film that was already so good.
Yeah.
It didn't really add anything for me, and it almost slightly took me out or jarred me a little bit, I guess. I think the imagery specifically, like the rifle and stuff like that. And then afterwards when you were like, what, that didn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense? Like,
and I was like, it didn't really make sense. And then it just sort of it left the film imperfect. I still thought it was a great film, but it definitely left it as an imperfect film, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I would agree with you. Yeah. But still a really, really great, a great one, and
a fun time.
Fun time at the movies. I think currently, considering what is out in the cinemas right now, if you haven't seen the film, I think it is the one I would probably most recommend you go see. Just sort of from a entertainment perspective. What?
Yeah, maybe.
What would you recommend?
Materialists. I thought that was quite fun.
You would recommend Materialists over Weapons?
No, actually, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, okay. We'll get there.
We'll see. I'll make up my mind at the end of the episode what I'd recommend.
Yeah. Up next, the following night, we watched Predestination. Now, this is a film... You don't even know what film I'm talking about.
Keep talking.
This is a film that I sort of discovered a few years back, sort of around COVID. And I was like, oh my God, like I found this hidden gem. Not many people had seen it. I've only showed it to one friend and he was like blown away at the end of it. If you haven't seen Predestination...
Most trippy film ever.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Predestination or you don't even know what it is, it stars Ethan Hawke and Sarah Snook. That's all I'm going to say. It's about an hour and a half. It won't take too much of your time, but more likely than not, you'll be blown away by the end of it. Just take my word for it. Stop watching this part of the review and go check it out. But of course, I had to show it to Clara at some point, in which we did. And I think the number one takeaway is let's just stop watching films that late, but also in bed.
Yeah, this is so true.
Yeah, because...
But I watched it all. I think you felt a bit sleepy.
I honestly, at this point in my life, I think I've really, and it really pains me to say this, but I really need to at least sit on a sofa of some sort. I can't be in bed whilst watching films anymore because I'm really feeling the effects of adult life, like working life. Like I can't be a kid forever, kind of thing. And I hate to say it, and no amount of these is gonna change that. When I'm lying down in the bed, the attention just isn't quite there. But of course, I love the film, and the main reason why we're watching it was actually to show you.
Yeah. Am I allowed to do spoilers?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, I'll start with no spoilers, but I will do spoilers eventually. Sure. Just warning. I really enjoyed the film. I definitely came out of it and woke Dylan up and was like,
I was awake.
I'm joking. And I was like, what on earth happened? Because it is one of those films where you have to take a second to really figure out. Definitely a lot of sort of bootstrap paradoxes, all over the place, but not all over, like mentally you have to, it's kind of like
Don't
Tenet,
watch it when you're tired.
Yeah, if Tenet had made sense, it gave me that I like. You know when you're at the end, like, okay, where does this piece go? Where does that piece go? Okay, I see this person is also the wife and the daughter and the husband and the son. Like, how on earth are they all the same person? But
it's one of those memes of where, like, you know, with normal linear films, you have like just the timeline of events going from beginning, middle, end. Whereas this is more like all over the place kind of thing. But no,
it was really fun. And I liked it actually visually as well. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's quite low budget, but
it really uses it well. I thought like definitely really interesting.
Yeah,
very plot driven. Yeah, but it really keeps you in it. Like, you're not bored just very plot driven. Yeah, I just did really enjoy it. I thought it was really well acted. Yeah, really well acted. And the actress that plays the sort of
Sarah Snook,
really good. And
in Succession.
Oh, she's in Succession. Yeah, we spoke about Selfless. I hadn't seen her in anything before. I thought she was really impressive.
Yeah, it's a really great sci-fi film to kind of wrap yourself around it. And it only in 90 minutes, it asks a lot of questions, and I just think it's one of the more unique hidden gems of the genre that you have to see, like, without a doubt. Anyhow, the next day I went to see at an unlimited screening The Life of Chuck, directed by Mike Flanagan, who of course is known for his ventures. I say ventures in the horror genre. He is very much someone who's been operating within the realm of horror. You know, he's done massive popular series like The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor and The Fall of the House of Usher. But he's also done films like Oculus and Doctor Sleep and Gerald's Game and, you know, these kind of recent modern staples of horror, I would say, and very, very much someone who's proven himself within the genre. Now, he ventures outside of that genre, and this is his adaptation of a Stephen King short story novella, I think, called The Life of Chuck, which is much more sort of existential, and it follows this character called Chuck, but it is a play on the non-linear structure. It sort of takes place in the third act first, then the second act, then the first act. It's a film that presents itself quite uniquely, I would say, but it still follows a 3-act structure, but just in reverse. It is a tool used to kind of reveal more about this character, because at the start you don't even follow this character Chuck at all. You don't know who he is. Even after that first act, or third act, I should say, you don't know who he is. But slowly, as you sort of go back in time, you start to paint this bigger picture of who this person is, what the film is about, and what it's trying to say. And I think this film, a lot of it worked for me, a lot of it didn't work for me. I think fundamentally what I said in my Letterboxd review was, this is like the most Spielberg film not directed by Spielberg. My problem here isn't actually with the direction. Because I think Mike Flanagan does a really good job. I just think there is something about it is massive. It is very different from anything what we've seen, but it still kind of has and retains a lot of sort of coming of age tropes that we have seen before. And I think its messaging is quite beautiful, but I also think it is ultimately something that didn't leave me necessarily having learned or asking myself new or interesting questions, if that makes sense.
Do you feel like so you feel like it was a bit generic other than this non-linear structure?
I would say, because on the one hand, like, it's a film that kind of leaves you with your heart feeling whole, and it is a heartwarming piece. It's deeply melancholic and deeply sad at times, but also I just do feel like overall, like, if I was being really harsh, I don't think I felt a little underwhelmed afterwards, and I can't quite put my finger on why exactly that is, because there are moments in this film that, you know, are moving and do touch you, but like, also it is also just a coming of age film that we have kind of seen before, like, you know.
I see.
You know,
so,
like,
and it's not done like differently or heartwarmingly or newly enough that you're like, okay, sure, great, it's backwards, but I've seen it.
Sure, I think the material is good, because I think it is quite existential in what its messaging is. But like, I actually think you might actually quite like the film, but I it's not a film that when you read it on the page, or if someone tells you what it's about, it's a film that almost is advertised to be more than what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Like, it just was a bit shallow in the end.
A little bit.
Yeah, fair.
it's about like, you know, childlike imagination and where that can take you, and how kind of reality is versus kind of imagination, and like how those two things kind of combine and cross
sound
over.
like a film I'd like.
It is. It's quite. It is a good film, and I do think you should check it out just for the pure kind of, I say, uniqueness of it, because I've been slating it for not being kind of anything we haven't seen before. But like, it is a film I think that you should see at some point to make your own mind up, because I've seen people who love this film, but I also feel like it is a film that unfortunately for me, there was something a little bit missing and a little bit all too familiar with the story. So yeah, I know this is kind of a half-assed review of it, but like once again, it is a really difficult film to talk about by yourself. I wish you had seen it so I could really like actually.
Well, I'll have to see it next month, and then we can
break the film down a little bit.
I can do the second half.
What I will say is, it has one of Mark Hamill's best performances.
Okay.
A lot of people are saying like he should be nominated for an Oscar for it. I think he's really, really good. Yeah.
Okay, fast.
And also, it has some incredible dancing sequences with Tom Hiddleston. And also
I love Tom Hiddleston when he dances.
Yeah, he's a
funny.
fucking great dancer. And then the little kid who plays the younger version of Chuck as well, brilliant as well. Like it has got a lot of feel good moments. And it's a film that definitely I think you should check out. On the 17th. This was a day that I could probably refer to as a sort of couples therapy double bill at the cinema day.
Lol. Yeah. Okay.
We started off by watching a film called Together, which stars Dave Franco and Alison Brie, real life couple.
Which I feel like you can definitely tell in this film. Like, even like, I feel like, I mean, I didn't know that they were a real life couple, but I remember coming out of the cinema and just being like, they were great. They had such good chemistry, and you're like, yeah, they're actually a couple.
They're actually a couple
in
real life.
But like, like in the film they work so well together as a couple, and I feel like that
they're really going
heart
for it
of the film. Them and their couple dynamic really is what makes this film
entertaining and watchable. Yeah. 100%. I think it's directorial debut by a guy called Michael Shanks. I think it's a solid directorial debut.
Totally,
I wouldn't say it's like one of the best in the genre or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's a fun time at the movies. I would say
totally.
I do think it's a film that I think was over-marketed, like oversold in the marketing. There was a lot of marketing going on before this film, and sort of, if you've seen anything from this film, you know it is kind of a body horror kind of, and kind of using the body horror subgenre to really kind of explore relationships and codependency in relationships. And I do think like the whole kind of body horror sort of together sticking of kind of that kind of element of it is unique, and it's something that was heavily pushed in the marketing. I unfortunately found myself thinking that this film was slightly tame on the body horror. I
think maybe it's partly because we saw all the best moments in the trailer.
But also we just came off a year where there was a film called The Substance.
Which had the most,
which was brilliant from a sort of Cronenbergian perspective. Here it does feel quite tame for me. And I feel like what this film could have really benefited from an 18 rating as opposed to a 15 rating to really dial that up a bit. There are obviously some moments that are still like sort of squirmish here and there.
I guess I felt like the actual like very visceral, like even the first instance where they like peel their legs apart. I thought that was really like ugh. Whereas like some of the more like possession idea when they're coming together along the corridor and she's like twisting in weird ways, I found that almost a bit less.
Funnily enough, I thought that was one of the more interesting sequences, but also again another sequence that I thought they were way too tame on. Like even like the possession stuff.
Yeah, I
really
just felt
wasn't quite. It
looked a bit more like contemporary dance than right. Actually, yeah. Whereas so that sequence fell flat, but like just the very like. I did think some of the smaller things they did quite well.
Yeah.
Like really feeling like they were stuck together and like peeling themselves apart did make me go quite well.
I can't remember who said this, but I heard someone say if you go into this film with a mindset that it's a kind of a twisted rom-com, I think you might actually have a better time as opposed to if you're going to watch a horror film, I would say.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
I do think it's another case of like bark louder than its bite kind of thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're definitely right.
And but once again, Alison Brie and James Franco are just brilliant in the film, and I was invested in their relationship. I did care about those characters.
And I didn't feel like the relationship, like what they were doing with those characters, it wasn't just surface level functioning so they could do a horror film plot.
Yeah.
Like you said, there was depth. It was almost rom-com-esque in their relationship problems.
The film is surprisingly really funny at times as well.
Yeah, it's really funny, but like their problems are real and they feel natural in a relationship, and you see why they like each other and why they hate each other and what's gone wrong and what possibly could go right if they were only to do this. And there's, it just, it really works that their relationship, I feel, is fully fleshed out. What I would say is slightly annoying is the resolution they get to at the end just doesn't, like, they've built these very complex and interesting characters with their real fights and their real lives. And then it sort of all suddenly resolves when the boyfriend goes, I'm sorry for everything. Let's actually just stick together. And it just sort of, you're like, actually, that wasn't all your problems.
Yeah.
That doesn't really make sense.
It's not like a one fix thing.
As a resolution to all of this stuff that's just gone wrong. And you don't really feel it as well. Even if he says it, you're like, yeah, okay, all this body horror stuff has gone down, but I don't really feel like you understand what's gone wrong in your relationship. You're just sort of being like, no, but you're worth it now and I need you. Like I would say that is what annoyed me the most about this film. Like I could have like taken the less body horror, what kind of annoyed me was that sort of very sort of like, okay, now we're finishing it and tying it in a bow kind of thing. And that just kind of frustrated me when they'd set up the characters so well, their relationship was done like brilliantly, acted brilliantly, all of these things. And then it was just kind of like, okay, now we're done.
Yeah, I feel like whenever it was getting interesting with their relationship, the film also almost had to remind itself that it's a horror film. They need to get to the next horror sequence. Sequence. Yeah, it's still a fun film. Recommend you check it out. It's cool. It's fine. Later on that evening, we watched Celine Song's Materialists, starring Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans.
Yes.
Thoughts?
I enjoyed this film a lot. I keep saying that, but I have had fun at the cinema recently.
I swear that's like your go-to.
I
really
enjoyed
this film a lot. I enjoyed this film a lot.
But I did. I thought it was fun. And heartwarming at points. I definitely thought it was maybe a lot shallower than it thought it was.
Yeah.
I really felt like, I liked its commentary on modern dating in some ways. And, it was almost like, taking the dating apps, but in real life kind of thing, with everyone like looking at their criteria, ticking boxes, sort of almost swiping through people, even if it's more of a sort of actually practical way of doing things with Dakota Johnson, I can't remember her character's name, being the...
it was like Lucy or something.
Being the sort of hinge. And so that was all interesting and like fun to see a film now sort of about modern dating in a different way. But yeah, I just didn't feel like it was very deep. It was definitely focused on people that want money and material things in a relationship. But I did kind of feel like it was only sort of, I think that it's more complex than how it presented it. Like, I think it was very much more just from the side of like wanting things for improving someone's image or for clout or for like that sort of, rich people wanting other rich people. It felt a lot like. Whereas I do think there is, especially, I don't know, maybe I say especially now with sort of cost of living, but like maybe for a long time there is something in dating where you're looking for someone who you can build the life with that you want. And in that discussion, and there always has been in that discussion, the idea of money, that like, do you want someone that can, especially with sort of, most people can only buy houses now in a couple. In London and things like that, that are starting to have to be these discussions in relationships. And that is kind of interesting. And I saw an interview with Celine Song where, someone leaves a comment, saying like...
Yeah, we've all seen this one.
Yeah. What's the comment? Like...
It's like not Celine Song promoting broke men in this economy or something.
Yeah, exactly. And like... And obviously that's like not an okay thing to say. But she gets really upset about it and she's like, actually, this sort of classism isn't okay, but she doesn't, I don't really feel like she delves into the classism and into the necessity of, what needing money means and like how much that can like scar people and how much, from someone's perspective, like the Dakota Johnson character, she's looking for a better life and something that, and I don't know, I felt like there wasn't much sympathy for that and not much depth. And I think that kind of frustrated me a little bit, that like I felt like something that is so complex and is so horrible and comes with so much classism and like all of this kind of stuff, I just felt like it was very surface level. Pick the rich guy that you feel quite cold to, or pick the poor guy that loves you. No, I'm going to obviously pick the poor guy that loves me. And it just didn't really, I felt like it set something up more complex than that and then didn't really.
Yeah. I think what it is, it's almost disguised as, so it's marketed as basically Dakota Johnson having to pick between broke guy, for lack of a better phrase,
Yeah.
and Pedro Pascal, who's what they refer to in the film as a unicorn, the ideal type of guy, and Dakota Johnson's ex is Chris Evans, who's broke.
Mhm.
So the question here is she going to choose like her ex, who she's had a relationship with, love essentially, or something that is more material, more promising, sort of from a material point of view, and how that is kind of tackled in today's society. What I do think the film does really well is present the kind of modern dating world. And I love films that take place in New York. It's just a kind of thing for me. I really like that. And almost how it's like this sort of it's basically a game. It is
so much for so many people now. Like dating
absolutely.
is just a game.
It's a game. It's very much like it's almost this kind of, well, it's a game. It's basically like a chessboard almost of sorts. And these matchmakers that the matchmaker we follow is Dakota Johnson, and how she kind of just treats people as almost like these kind of objects to kind of get her own success in a way. Like not truly taking into consideration one's feelings, I would say. But also then the film explores the kind of dangers of doing that. And a little bit.
No, I see what you're saying. 100%.
Basically looking at modern dating as almost this commodity of sorts, and not actually as a means of business, essentially. And when in reality, relationships are obviously this incredibly sort of volatile thing.
That's definitely really interesting. Yeah, I agree with that. And like, the classic, like, all the men don't want someone over a certain age and all the women don't want a man under a certain salary, like all that kind of like, the classic stuff, and like, quite sad, but also, played with irony and like, kind of for laughs at the same time, and that was all done really well, and I appreciated that. But yeah, I don't know, I guess I did feel like some of it didn't totally make sense, and it was a bit like lacked in complexity. Like, in the end of the day, she gets a really good job and becomes like more well off, and so surely that would change her attitude to who she, like, I just kind of like, I felt like it all just didn't quite
it's a bit of a mess.
Fit together. That's kind of what I'm saying.
I think also like the film, like with a filmmaker like Celine Song, you would expect a bit more of a kind of resolution that isn't so aligned with typical rom-coms.
Yeah, exactly. Like
something that says an ending that says a bit more than just that love wins kind of.
Yeah, we watched a rom-com the other day, and sort of one of the when we were watching it with, and the ending goes and they kiss and and the woman was like, Kane, by the way, was just like, oh yeah, because that's gonna last. And I did feel that a little bit at the end of The Materialists. Like they hadn't really resolved things enough. He sort of made her a promise you knew he wasn't gonna keep, and she still wanted what she wanted, and like you were just like, I want to love. Do you know what I mean? And like, I want them to be together, but I just didn't really feel like they had actually resolved it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it feels incomplete. The ending feels incomplete. It doesn't feel like a conclusive sort of ending. But yeah, so a little bit disappointing. But I still really kind of enjoyed the film. I kind of just liked sort of being in that world, I guess.
Yeah. And again, like, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, it's great. Well shot. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And with actors like these, like, you're going to be
totally
entertained.
I agree.
On the 18th, the next day, we went to an unlimited screening of Ari Aster's new film, Eddington. Now, of course, Eddington is a film, the kind of premise is we focus on this town, Eddington, which is sort of on the Gulf of New Mexico. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sure. Takes place critically during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the main kind of premise here is Joaquin Phoenix plays the town sheriff, and he's sort of a more kind of conservative, traditional kind of person who really does not get along well with all these new rules and regulations, and he just wants the America he knows to be maintained, retained, and the pandemic is pushing a lot of new things forward, and he isn't comfortable with that, and he really is at odds with the sort of mayor played by Pedro Pascal, and there is a new election coming up, and both of them are running for mayor. Pedro Pascal is looking to get re-elected. Joaquin Phoenix is like, fuck this, I'm the sheriff, but now I'm going to run for mayor. So it's sort of it causes this divide in the town, and all these kind of political ideas and things that we have all experienced because we experienced or we've all seen on social media
Yeah.
over the past couple of years, particularly since COVID, like Black Lives Matter and sort of these COVID conspiracy theories and all these this online discourse is all very much in this film and used to sort of elevate the tension and kind of bring it to kind of this huge sort of fallout of sorts in the third act. Thoughts?
The things I really liked about this film was I thought Joaquin Phoenix's performance was amazing. The sort of rise, sort of almost fake rise, and then his fall really, really sort of, I really felt. There's a moment where he gets humiliated by the Pedro Pascal character. Pedro Pascal basically slaps him and like tells him to leave. And I really
Spoilers.
I really, really like felt the sort of shame and the pain and then the anger, like everything he's going through. I think he performs brilliantly. The other thing I really liked about this film is Ari Aster's sort of horror style brought into the real world and into a time which was so strange as COVID-19 that like I did really feel like the world is a horror film watching this. Like definitely all the sort of, you know, and especially as he sort of played into these conspiracy theories, felt deeply scary and creepy. And I did really feel that sort of, that the way he can really set a tone, whether that be for something like Midsummer, he really, I felt like did in this place. And it did feel deeply unsettling, which I thought was great. And then I know we'll talk about the third act, and that was brilliant. So those things I did really, really like. But I did think it was ultimately a very shallow in its use of all these different political things. Every sort of character was very one-dimensional, from the like, you know, performative man to the sort of passionate white girl to the like sort of racist cop to like, it all just sort of felt very like, yeah, it wasn't saying that much. It was just sort of playing on each of these, like pulling in each of these tropes sort of one after the other. And that was kind of like frustrating. Like it doesn't make me want to rewatch it because it just wasn't that deep.
Right. Okay.
Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I think it kind of reduces these complex issues to like flat caricatures, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like again, like I said, like kind of social polarization, Black Lives Matter, COVID conspiracy theories, all these things that we have seen online, especially during that time. You know, it kind of, the way I kind of described it in my Letterboxd review is it almost takes these like sort of strands and puts them into like almost this kind of metaphorical pressure cooker of sorts, and that's how it kind of builds the tension up until sort of the final act, where there's this kind of huge fallout. And I think a lot of people really don't appreciate how Ari Aster has just, you know, the writing here is so kind of uninspired and just kind of flat, and there's no attempt to really tackle any of these issues with any kind of nuance or depth.
Yeah, just all gets sort of thrown in.
Just kind of thrown in there, and the characters are, again, like they're not that interesting as characters.
And I do feel like as well sometimes it's really played for laughs.
Yeah,
and like deep, like again, like some of it is genuinely funny, but like these deeply serious issues that aren't dealt with, and then like you throw it in there to get a laugh, and it just feels a bit like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work.
Yeah. So a lot of the film, I can see a lot of the film it being quite tough for a lot of people to get through.
Yeah.
I think for me, ultimately what saved the film was its more kind of cinematic kind of sort of third act, I would say.
Yeah.
It's the cinematic third act, which I think demonstrates Ari Aster again, like as one of the best filmmakers working today. This is some of the best filmmaking I have seen from him. It's kind of his sort of twisted take on like a sheriff's last stand. That's how I would kind of describe it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately this is a Western. It's got elements of kind of No Country for Old Men in there, and like, you know, really, really nail-biting kind of final act. The sound design is amazing, and like all these kind of things kind of catapulting into a sort of finale that, you know, is only going to end one way, but still, like, I was genuinely on the edge of my seat. A lot of people have said, like, how the fuck can you be invested in a character that you don't like? Like, this is just awful human being kind of thing. But again, like Ari Aster, like, he's just from a filmmaking point of view, he I think it's just what he did in third act was just brilliant, I thought. And personally, as someone who didn't really love Beau is Afraid at all, I will give it another rewatch because I think I feel like there is more to unpack there, but like I did very much prefer Eddington to Beau is Afraid. I think we're sort of getting back on track for Ari Aster, and I'll fundamentally respect the idea that he is experimenting with all these different genres.
Yeah.
He's not a filmmaker who will sit within one genre, but instead explore other topics, other sort of discussions.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether or not you like him, he's obviously a very polarizing director. I respect him. And I think he's a great filmmaker.
And like I said before, I don't think his filmmaking isn't like, I think it still works for the real world. It gives you this sort of anxiety inducing atmosphere for the real world. But I think it really works. I do think maybe partly just the script was weak for this.
Yeah.
It just didn't really work.
Yeah. Then a couple of days later, I rewatched, but you saw for the first time, The Fantastic Four: The First Steps.
Yes.
I've already reviewed the film. You can review it, and I'll give him sort of my input.
Okay. I think I actually was a little bit disappointed for this one. I'd been hearing sort of good things down the grapevine. I was sort of ready for a real sort of like banger. And I just don't really feel like it delivered for me. I felt like the character development just wasn't there. I didn't feel any conflict or really any resolution between the four. And that I feel like really let it down for me. I thought Silver Surfer was really great. I thought she was done really well. She, the character was done really, really well. And the design was really, really good. I really liked the design and all the sort of the way they'd done the whole production design. But yeah, I just felt like that really fell flat for me. And it made me less invested in them as characters. And if they're the sort of going to be the new face of the MCU going forward, I find that I hope they do a bit more with those characters, to be honest.
Interesting. Yeah, I when I rewatched the film, it kind of fell half a star for me on Letterboxd, I think. I think it's still a solid film. I think it's very good, and not very good, but I think it's a good film, and I think it's better than a lot of the stuff the MCU has been producing recently. I respect the sort of breath of fresh air to take the kind of gaze off the current Earth, go to a completely different world, explore new different characters with a new cast. That very much feels like a breath of fresh air and a long sort of overdue return to the cinema for these characters of Fantastic Four, of course, Marvel's first family. I think all the castings were great. I really enjoyed all of them, really.
I agree. I thought they were all really good. I thought Vanessa Kirby was my standout,
really
but
very good.
I did think they were all really good.
Yeah. But again, like one of my main problems with this film was like just the lack of drama or lack of tension or lack of conflict between the four itself. Everything is just so conveniently that they're always just there for each other.
And I did feel like everything was a bit easy. Like I wanted to see maybe, I don't know, Vanessa Kirby more anxious to become a mother, not worried she's going to do it justice and then comes through in the end, or her have some real conflict with Pedro Pascal about how they're going to handle this, how they're going to deal with giving up or not giving up their child. Obviously they're not going to, but something really come off there, them sort of bowing out of the superhero life. Are they going to do it? Like all those little tensions could have been developed more, basically. Just really upsetting.
Okay.
One thing I just want to throw out there, seeing as we're not making Jaws, and this really annoyed me.
All right.
And you're going to be annoyed that this annoyed me. But when they get pulled into a neutron star, I don't understand why they just didn't call it a black hole. Like that really bugged me, because it's not a star is a star. If it's a neutron star, it's emitting light. It's not a hole. Like they had created a lovely CGI black hole. It wasn't a star. Why call it a neutron star? It just makes no sense and is really frustrating.
Did they call it a neutron star?
Yeah, they said it's a neutron star. Oh, it's almost a black hole, but it's a neutron star. It's not a neutron star if it's a black hole. It's just not. It just really annoyed me.
Physically.
And if you have all this money to create a neutron star and call it a neutron star, but you've created a lovely black hole, why don't you call it a black hole? It's just so annoying. Okay, sorry, rant over. It just annoys me.
On that note, the next film that we watched was The Conjuring 2. So we'd already seen The Conjuring 1 with your younger brother, Arthur. So we watched The Conjuring 2, and of course Conjuring 2 takes place not in America but in London, Enfield. The house in which this takes place is a 16-minute drive from where I live. So suffice to say, this one hits quite close to home, I would say, literally. I think, again, I really enjoy the Conjuring films. The first one, I think, is probably the best one. This one might be my favorite, again, just because of the sort of proximity here, and I also think the inclusion of the nun here is, I don't know why I said emphasis on that like that, but it is one of the better sort of additions to a kind of modern horror that there is. There is one scene with the nun in this film, which I think might be an all-timer. I think it's brilliant. With the painting, with her shadow.
So
absolutely, it's like terrifying. It's
that's really scary.
Really, really brilliant filmmaking. I kind of miss James Wan as he kind of departed from the horror genre, so to speak, to go off and do sort of Aquaman and Aquaman. I don't know, did he do Aquaman 2? He might have done, I can't remember. To sort of take on these bigger projects. I do think his strengths always lie in horror, and this is another example of it. Conjuring 2.
Solid. The Nun is definitely, I think, the most scary part of this. I think I preferred Conjuring 1.
Yeah. On the 23rd, we watched a film that came out in 1962 called La Jetée.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, crazy times.
So do you want to do this, or do you want to?
So this is my dad's. I would like to say favorite film, but
it is absolutely his favorite.
He
film.
may not say favorite film.
This is all I hear in the house. La Jetée, La Jetée, La Jetée.
It's a short film. And it was the inspiration, I think, for 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys, that's right.
Yeah. And it is black and white. And it's all, except for sort of a 3-second clip, all photographs.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of sci-fi, apocalyptic short about sort of the passing of time and memory and love and all of these things. And it's a great watch, actually, and it's only 30 minutes.
30 minutes. I think you can check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, you can literally watch it on YouTube. It is sort of brilliant, and it really sort of shows you how you can make a riveting film with images and not that much.
Yeah.
And such a sort of complicated, the kind of storytelling that you feel like you need a huge budget to do.
Yeah.
With sort of, futuresque, and it just really, really works, and it's quite brilliant, and it's quite moving. So yeah.
I mean, I think it's like kind of crazy how much you can kind of just convey just via a couple of still images, some great music, and some brilliant sound, and the kind of order in which those images are shown. You kind of build the connecting tissue as well, which is so like it's almost like you're filling in the gaps. You're using your own imagination in a way. And it's sort of a bit like how you would kind of, the only thing I can compare it to is like reading a book for the first time. Yeah. And like building that world a little bit, building that world for yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It gives you just enough.
Exactly. So it's kind of like 2 for you, 1 for me, kind of a trade off. It just, I saw someone on Letterboxd describing this film as like the best PowerPoint known to man. Again, like I think it manages to kind of be more meaningful and more thought provoking in 30 minutes than most films do in like an hour and a half plus.
Yeah,
it's like genuinely brilliant. And again, another example of like even sci-fi is sort of known to be this genre that is sort of really tricky to tackle, and yet this film does it so simplistically but so effectively in just such a short amount of time. And again, it is dealing with these kind of time travel paradoxes and all these kind of sort of elements, and I think it's just brilliant.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
like
good.
Again, like things that you expect to have such a high budget. Like I remember I watched this film also when I got to be about 11 when my dad first showed it to me, and there's generally moments in it that I found scary. Yeah, like that sort of images that really sort of stuck in my brain. And I do think that is something very powerful that you can do with such a limited thing. And I think for filmmakers as well, it's a good one to check out just to sort of, see how much you can do with just so little as well.
Less is more, almost.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving on, I rewatched, and I've been meaning to for so long. I rewatched Past Lives. Celine Song's Past Lives, because of course we just recently watched The Materialists, and I was like, right, I gotta rewatch this at some point. So I felt like this was the night to do it. First time we watched Past Lives, it was like 3 a.m. Very tired. Didn't really watch it, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah. We're just on a really long shift as well.
Yeah, like it was exhausting.
It was not prime time.
Yeah, I rewatched this, and I really wasn't expecting to love it as much as everyone had, because the first time I watched it, even though I really didn't kind of take it in fully, I still kind of did watch it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really expecting to like, a huge change. I would say maybe it would go up half a star or something. So this is a 5-star film. I was in tears at the end of this film. I genuinely was. I don't think this has quite happened to me before with any film ever.
Yeah, I was quite shocked because we weren't like I was away, and you messaged me like, "This is amazing.
Yeah, this is fucking.
This is a 5-star film." I cried, and I was shocked because I feel like you're very open to the fact that your film opinion changes slightly over time, but like
usually I kind of made my mind.
You know what you think, basically.
Yeah.
You know, it might go up and down half a star with a little rewatch and a thing, but
Yeah.
I was very shocked, and I feel like you also have such a good eye for the film first time round, usually, always.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and I think it just shows how tired we were. But
no, genuinely, like it's kind of shocking to me how much I love this film. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think
it's making me want to rewatch it.
Genuinely,
So
Celine Song's directorial debut is one of the greatest directorial debuts I've ever seen. Objectively, it's like one of the best ever. I think it's one of the best films of the last 20 years. Genuinely, I think it is brilliant.
Oh my God, I need to see this.
It is so.
Again.
I'm hyping it up so much, but like for me, like. Again, I was kind of discussing this in my Letterboxd review, but when you think of like the great films, like the great movies, you often think of films like The Godfather or Apocalypse Now or 2001: A Space Odyssey or Lawrence of Arabia or something like, even recently like Oppenheimer, for example. These whole sort of huge like films that explore loads of different things and have loads of different moving parts and the like towering feats that you look and you're like, holy shit, how the fuck did someone make this? I think I have equally as much respect for a film like Past Lives than I do for some of those great, like in some aspects, because I think in a lot of ways, and if you can ask any filmmaker, any artist, but the emotional sort of journey or the emotional resonance with an audience is always the most difficult thing to get right. Because you're dealing with the most subjective part of an experience of going to watch a movie.
Yeah.
You either find something sad or emotional or happy or funny or scary, or you don't. And the levels to which, that varies between audiences or between different cinema goers. And for me, the reason why I really respect Past Lives, I genuinely can think it's like almost like a movie miracle in a lot of ways. Because for me, it kind of walks this kind of tightrope that isn't like physical or like from a filmmaking perspective. It is not about the production design, or it's not about the special effects, or it's not about even necessarily the script. It is about the script, but it's not things that you can alter physically. There's no tangibility there, but instead it walks this tightrope that isn't kind of within that kind of tangible realm, but instead it is deeply emotional. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see. It's not like you're looking at the film and going, I would have shot it like this, or I would have like changed the sound or this technical bit to make it tighter or cut this.
Right.
There's some deep emotion that she brings through that isn't, you're not really sure how, she just does it.
Sure. It's a film that kind of walks a tightrope that is not like technical or physical, but is instead purely emotional and instinctual. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I just don't know how someone can create that.
Yeah.
It is like, for me, like it was like these perfect kind of emotional dominoes that was falling for me. Yeah. And by the time it got to the end, I was just in tears. I was like, but it wasn't like I was like slowly building up in sadness. It was almost like subconsciously it just hit me in the end. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't like slowly getting sadder, but just in the end, just like I just felt like so like empty by the end of it. No, when I say empty, I meant like just like almost like broken. I was like floored. I was like, what the hell has happened? Like, why am I so upset? And I didn't know it. Like, it was almost like subconscious creeping up in me. I think this film is a movie miracle. I genuinely think it is brilliant. And I know I've hyped it up for you and might not even have the same effect on you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change a single thing about Past Lives. I genuinely wouldn't. Every shot, every moment, there's not a shot that lingers too long. There's not a moment of dialogue that overstays its welcome. It's perfect for me, like genuinely.
Oh my God! And I'm gonna rewatch it.
I genuinely don't know what the fuck has happened. I genuinely don't know what's happened. This film deeply touched me, and I don't know. It might. No, I can't say that.
Say that.
No, I was gonna say it might actually genuinely be one of my favorite films that I've watched in the last 10 years. No, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. Moving on. On the 27th, our dear friend Mickey, who has a film production company called Look Aside Films, put on an event which screened 7 different short films, all of which are just brilliant in their own right, all of which 100%. Are different genres, exploring different things. And it was a really, really great night. Met a lot of new people, a lot of filmmakers. It was almost like a networking event of sorts, but it was like just the way it was done is brilliant. And hats off to you, Mickey, like fantastic work.
Yeah.
Like for me, like watching those shorts kind of really wanted to make me watch more short films.
Definitely. And I think He very cleverly picked very different kinds of shorts as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, different genres, but also different lengths, different styles. There was animation. There was sort of a editorial kind of. It was literally called editorial.
Yeah.
But ranging from sort of the 30-minute mark right down to the 3-minute mark.
Yeah.
It was all really great, different sort of ideas out there that I wasn't bored at all. And I feel like a lot of people, when they think of watching short films, they're like, oh, it's going to be quite sort of amateurish and boring and I never felt that. I thought it was really well done, well chosen, and hats off to all those filmmakers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think in many ways, short films can really be quite effective just because they're limited by time.
Yeah.
And they've got to get a lot of the themes across to you in that time frame.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them are so effective. Some of which are there was one short film I've genuinely seen not anything like this.
Oh my God, yeah.
In one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It's a short film called Make Me a Pizza. That's all I'll say. Go watch it. Go see if you can find it out there.
Crazy.
Insane film. I hope Mickey does more short film screenings.
Definitely.
I really want to attend it.
100%.
It's great. The next day, I rewatched Children of Men, directed by, of course, Alfonso Cuarón. Nice little pronunciation there. Hasta luego.
Brilliant film.
What can I say? Film. Again, it just floors me how different a film feels when it's shot by Emmanuel Lubezki. This is a cinematographer that you're watching a Lubezki film when it's on. It just the way the camera is almost. It's a human. It's basically a human following things around at times very video game-esque, fully immersive.
Oh yeah.
Fully immersive. It's crazy. Children of Men is basically what I think the UK would look like if Reform won in the next UK election.
Yeah.
100%. That's genuinely what I think.
100%.
No, seriously. It's one of the best films you could.
I think
it also really.
I do think it's really. I don't know. I've watched it a while ago, so. My memory of it is not as sharp as it could be. But I also feel like it has a lot of influence on a lot of ways I feel like I see people make apocalyptic Britain in movies. Recently with that Jodie Comer film, The End We Start From.
Oh yeah.
I definitely feel like I saw sort of remnants of that piece through it. I do think it has influenced a lot of, that's...
style of post-apocalyptic films. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, I'm kind of lost for words when you talk about Children of Men. I think it's deeply sort of, a lot of the themes they're dealing with are really, really kind of deeply sad and kind of. Usually, when you think of post-apocalyptic films, you think of this huge sort of virus that's come and killed loads of humans, and in a way that kind of is the case here. But it doesn't border on the line of fantasy, but instead, it is a kind of. This parallel universe where something deeply has gone wrong, and you can see yourself very much so compared to a lot of other post-apocalyptic films fit into that world. So the post-apocalyptic world is one where women have become infertile. They can no longer reproduce. They can no longer give birth, and amongst all this, one woman gives birth, right? And it is basically this miracle, and it's about this sort of activist who is trying to get her to essentially a safe haven where scientists can hopefully find some sort of cure or resolution for this horrible situation. And it's sort of this kind of deeply pensive look into a world that is ignited by fire and conflict and all the worst parts of humanity that bubbled to the...
One of those classic, if something goes wrong, that actually the worst fear is not what went wrong, but how cruel people will be to each other, kind of thing. Yeah.
Unfortunately, when watching this, I could see a lot of real life parallels, which I think watching this in 2025 has probably never been more effective. I think.
Oh, interesting.
I
should rewatch.
I think from a filmmaking perspective, it is I think it's one of the most technically brilliant films that I have ever seen. The Mexicans do it differently, man. What can I say? It's genuinely in awe of Children of Men. I think it's brilliant. The next day, rewatched 21 and Over. We were with some friends and we decided to put this film on.
Can't believe by yourself you're watching like Children of Men, Past Lives, and then when I'm with you, we watch 21 and Over.
21 and Over is great, mate. It's flipping great. We slapped this on, and watched with some friends because Panama and Mickey, who have been on the podcast many times, this was a film that the three of us, not together, but because we didn't know each other at the time, but like we used to watch as teenagers, as kids, whatever, and sort of just found very, very funny at the time, and was quite sort of slotted into the kind of super bad Project X Hangover type films. And it stars Miles Teller in it, who this was kind of the Miles Teller kind of rom-com-esque phase, but here he plays a kind of friend amongst three friends who sort of all reunite to take one of the friends out for their 21st birthday. And it's a night of sort of heavy drinking, partying, excess. It's everything you can imagine, a sort of a comedy at the time to be. I still think it's very, very funny.
Oh, I thought it was hilarious. I can't lie.
A lot of things haven't necessarily aged well, in my opinion, but I get this sudden kick of nostalgia when watching that film, especially with people who also have experienced that film in such a way. I'm not sure if I would recommend the film just because I just don't know how someone would perceive it nowadays.
Yeah.
But like, if you haven't seen it and you kind of are looking for like a sort of a kind of a light-hearted comedy that you want to just throw on in the background and just have a dumbass laugh to, this is the film for sure.
It is really funny, and I do think that they play off each other really, really well, and it is things haven't aged well, but it is a good laugh.
Yeah,
I did enjoy.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Yesterday we watched Superman, or I rewatched it. You watched it for the first time.
Yeah, I like what James Gunn has done with the sort of new aesthetic of this DC universe. I definitely again like the sort of more childish version of superheroes. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but sort of with the design of almost like everything from his costume, everything like that being a little bit more
camp.
Yeah. No, exactly. I really like that. And again, the humor, like we sort of touched on before, not being these sort of little quips thrown in, but sort of built into the characters and the story.
Yeah.
I again, that was a nice breath of fresh air. I have never seen any Superman films before. So for me, it was my sort of first look into the Superman character. And I did feel like, although for me, I know this wasn't an origin story, so I wasn't meant to get like every tiny building of his character. But I did feel a little bit left wanting, like with the sort of scene of him and his dad, or, his adopted dad. I felt a bit flat for me. I didn't really get a lot of character development from him. But that being said, it was an interesting look onto the character. And I did enjoy it. And I thought his relationship with Lois was really sweet. And I thought that was good. I thought Nicholas Hoult was brilliant as the villain, big bad.
Lex Luthor,
thank you. I thought that was really good. But yeah, it was a little bit all over the place. A bit too many cards in play, I felt like. Could have focused in a little bit more. And I wasn't the biggest fan of the sort of use of that conflict. I think I've seen a lot about it online. A lot positive. Superheroes are meant to sort of defend justice, and a lot of sort of the wars, I guess, we're seeing at the moment are very unjust. So to almost not, maybe to not speak about that in a superhero film, a lot of people are saying is a good thing that they're talking about, real just causes. But I did feel like it wasn't touched upon enough. It was a bit of a throwaway, possibly quite sort of white saviour-y, maybe not the best way to do it. But I don't know. It's up for you guys as viewers to decide.
Yeah. So the first time I saw Superman was an amazing experience in terms of, I went to the multimedia screening. It was genuinely fans everywhere. I've never been to a multimedia screening that packed. The line was humongous, like crazy. So the experience of itself watching it with the fans was amazing. However, I did not love the film upon first watch. I thought it was basically too convoluted, too much going on for a film that is supposed to kickstart DC universe. I felt like you could take out a lot of the just unnecessary like things in it. Like for me, I left the first time I watched this film. I left the cinema thinking like, why the hell do we have the Justice Gang in the first thing. Like,
and we literally spoke for like 5 minutes in the car and realized they could be lifted out with like 2 very small changes.
Right.
And there'd been so much time for character development.
Right.
Like, what was the point of that? Like,
there are some like silly kind of moments of comedy that really don't work for me. Like here, usually James Gunn is really quite on the comedic beats, but here I just think I don't know what he was really going for here. Really,
like, what bits?
Like, for example, we were talking about the flipping, just the hot reporter. Who the fuck was she? Like, who is that?
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
Like,
that didn't really
and
work.
then you have a slow-mo shot of her jumping up, and I was like, what the hell is
Yeah, I
this?
didn't like that either. That didn't work.
Just random things in here that just kind of irritated me, because I was just like, why for the love of God are we doing this in a Superman? Like, just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That being said, despite, you know, I'm really, I was really, really muddled in my head the first time I watched this film. I found a lot of it to be distracting rather than enriching. Even though I thought the 3 lead performances in particular were brilliant, I think they're all very well casted. I did feel the cinema really disappointed, and I was like, I'm expecting more from you, James Gunn, but also I'm expecting more from a character as, you know, iconic as this. Like, this should feel more. I should be feeling more with this. We rewatched it yesterday, and I think I might prefer this to Fantastic Four. So Fantastic Four has gone down half a star. Superman has risen half a star. So they're now about a 3.5 out of 5 star for me. But I think purely for the fact that this film is infused with so much personality.
Yeah.
I think I like that, and it is a good time at the film. And overall, I did get on with the script and the story a bit more this time around. You're able to kind of grasp, not necessarily that anything is difficult to understand, but more so distracting and, like, you know, a bit of a mess. You're able to sort of untangle things a bit more and kind of have a more.
It does sort of feel like someone's vision for the Superman character,
absolutely,
which I do appreciate. Like, it doesn't feel like corporatized. It does feel like his film. Yeah, it's a bit messy. Yeah, he's got too much going on. Yeah, he could have developed characters a bit more. But I felt like I was entering into a different world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do deeply appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%. I think it is a good film. I think it's a solid film. Do I still have some problems with it? Yes. Do I still think it should be more? Yes. But I'm hopeful. I think it's a good time at the movies. I think it's exactly what a kind of film that you would take your kids to see, and just like they would have such a blast with it. I think David Corenswet, like, genuinely, there's been a recent clip of him and James Gunn having a sort of healthy discourse on the character, on this sort of big speech moment that he has at the end, where he basically tells Lex Luthor, "That's my greatest strength. I'm as human as," he doesn't say fucking, obviously. "I'm as human as anyone. That's my greatest strength." And there's sort of the BTS sort of scene of James Gunn and David Corenswet really sort of kind of having a kind of healthy argument about it on set.
Yeah, and I think that's really good, and it's nice to see that creative
absolutely energy. And you can feel this the genuine passion for the character amongst everyone who is telling the story in the film, and I just love that about the film. And and again, like, I think I was a little too harsh on it the first time I watched it. Had a much better time rewatching it, and I think it's good.
Can I have one minor other physics rant, please?
Oh, sure.
I appreciate, although the black hole was done quite badly, that the black hole was at least a black hole and not a neutron star. But an anti-proton river, the moment you enter that, you blow up. Like, you touch antimatter, you die. Call it something else. Have a different kind of river. Have a vortex river or something.
He's Superman.
But so does all the, like, other people that enter the river.
No, they don't, because he lifts the baby up, and Crypto... Does Crypto even fall? Crypto is a Kryptonian dog. They're Kryptonians, all right?
So what is... Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Plus the other goons were falling in. They were dying instantly.
Okay, fine. We allow it.
I guess it doesn't make sense. But nevertheless, yes. And then last night we watched you watched for the first time, The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, which is a film that obviously exposed the first time in sort of US legal history where possession or demonic possession was used as defense in a court of law. First time this ever happened. The first case, obviously based on real life, proceedings, as the previous two were. We are doing this all in preparation for tomorrow night, as when we're recording this, to see the latest Conjuring film.
Yes.
This one, I think we can both mutually say is not the best one.
No, but
it's still.
I actually preferred it to number 2.
What? No way.
Seriously? I don't know. I feel like they're all a little bit,
shit. Not shit, but you know.
Like, you know, they're one scare after another. They're just basically there to freak you out, right? They're not like, that's their job.
Yeah.
And yeah, the nun thing was scary in the second one. But I did kind of enjoy the almost sort of detective nature of this one a little bit more than... I felt like the second one was a redo of the first one, just trying to freak you out. And the first one did it better. And then this one, I was like, oh, we've got like this little detective story. I'm kind of enjoying this.
Yeah,
it's quite fun. The courtroom.
My problem with that is the more you make these characters become like basically superheroes, the less scary it is. They just basically become. Scary. So like, if I'm going to a horror film, I want to be frightened in some moments. And the moment you go, like, you got Ed and Lorraine Warren going out like looking for the clues and all this, it just becomes like this. So they're just superheroes now, basically.
Yeah, sure, I get that.
They're having these mind battles, and I'm like, bro, you're not Professor X-Man. Come on.
No, I get that, but I guess I felt like, maybe it's just because I wasn't as scared as I wanted to be from the second one. That then
the nun scene, man.
No, the one nun scene is scary. I'll give you the nun scene, but the rest I didn't.
I'm having none of that.
It didn't get under my skin like the first one had really like scared me.
Yeah.
And so it just felt a bit like, well, there wasn't really anything left then.
Yeah.
Whereas at least this one, like, it wasn't as scary, but had other shit going on. Like it was
fine.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's a fun film. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. I think it's pretty solid. And we're looking forward to seeing the next one tomorrow because our dear Ebony is in.
Yes, part of the Popcorn Podcast team.
Very much part of the Popcorn Podcast team is in this fucking film, man.
Yeah, so we'll explain to you exactly where she is after we've seen it. So
after we've seen it, yes. Well, on that note, this has been quite an episode. It's been an extensive monthly or 2 monthly catch-up here on July and August, the summer roundup. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Thank you, Clara, for once again appearing.
No, thank you for having me.
Guest. She's not really a guest at this point. Anyhow, do stay tuned, guys, because we've got some exciting content planned from now up until the end of the year. With this being episode 2, the road to 100 episodes continues strong, and we'll be having lots of new guests, lots of new exciting discussions, lots of new movies to review. London Film Festival is coming up very soon. So what a time to be a movie fan. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you very soon in the next episode of the Popcorn Podcast. Cheers. Done.